Millions of years ago, South America was home to creatures so bizarre that if they existed today, they would look completely unreal. Giant sloths taller than elephants, birds that hunted like dinosaurs, predators with teeth the size of knives. And the strangest part is, many of these animals disappeared not that long ago. Some may have walked this continent while the first humans were already watching them from a distance. Imagine standing alone in an ancient forest and hearing something enormous moving between the trees. Because long before modern cities, roads, and civilizations, South America was a lost world filled with monsters almost nobody talks about anymore. Back then, the continent was isolated from much of the rest of the world, almost like a gigantic evolutionary experiment cut off from everything else. And because of that isolation, nature began creating creatures unlike anything on Earth today. One of the strangest was the giant ground sloth. Forget the slow little sloths hanging from trees today. These animals could reach over 6 meters tall when standing upright. Their claws were massive, curved like giant hooks, capable of tearing vegetation apart with terrifying strength. And despite their enormous size, scientists still debate exactly how dangerous they may have been. Some researchers believe they were peaceful herbivores, while others think they may have used those giant claws as deadly weapons against predators.
And predators definitely existed. Hidden across ancient plains and forests was one of the most famous hunters of the prehistoric world, the saber-toothed cat. But the South American versions were even stranger than most people imagine. Some species were built less like modern lions and more like muscular ambush predators designed purely for overpowering giant prey. Their teeth were so long and fragile that they likely couldn't bite wildly like modern cats. Instead, they may have hunted with terrifying precision, pinning massive animals down before delivering a single devastating attack. Imagine seeing one emerge silently from tall grass at sunset, eyes fixed completely on you. But somehow, even the saber-toothed predators were not the most disturbing creatures living there. Because South America also became home to something almost unbelievable: giant carnivorous birds. These creatures are now called terror birds, and the name honestly still feels too small for what they were. Some stood over 3 meters tall, with gigantic hooked beaks capable of crushing bone. They couldn't fly, but they didn't need to. Their legs were built for speed, allowing them to chase prey across open landscapes like feathered dinosaurs that had somehow survived extinction. And for millions of years, they ruled entire ecosystems. Imagine a world where the top predator wasn't a tiger or a wolf, but a giant bird sprinting directly toward you faster than a human could escape.
And this is where the story starts becoming even stranger. Because not all extinct South American animals looked monstrous. Some were simply impossible to categorize. There were armored mammals that looked like enormous living tanks. Creatures related to modern armadillos evolved into giants the size of small cars. One of them, called Glyptodon, carried a shell so massive and thick that early humans may have used empty shells as temporary shelters. Think about that for a second. An animal so huge its body could become a house after death. And walking beside them were bizarre hoofed mammals unlike anything alive today. Animals that evolved separately from horses, deer, or elephants, creating body shapes that now feel almost alien. Then there was the megatherium, one of the largest land mammals South America ever produced. This giant sloth towered above most creatures around it. When standing on 2 legs, it could reach branches no other animal could touch. Entire forests may have changed shape because of the way these giants fed. Trees evolved around them. Ecosystems adapted to their movement. It's strange to imagine, but some prehistoric forests may have depended entirely on giant animals that no longer exist. And when those creatures vanished, entire environments changed forever with them.
But perhaps the most unsettling part of this story is how recent some of these extinctions actually were. Many people imagine prehistoric creatures disappearing alongside dinosaurs tens of millions of years ago. But some South American giants survived until relatively recently in human history. Early humans may have seen giant sloths crossing plains, may have heard terror birds screaming in the distance, may have stood face to face with creatures that now seem almost mythical. Ancient cave paintings and archaeological discoveries continue raising uncomfortable questions about just how long humans and these giants shared the same world. And then, almost suddenly, they were gone. Some disappeared because of climate change. Others may have been hunted by humans spreading across the continent. Entire ecosystems collapsed. Giant predators vanished. Massive herbivores disappeared. The forests changed. The plains changed. And eventually, the world itself became quieter. But traces of that lost world still remain hidden beneath caves, deserts, and ancient riverbeds across South America. Fossils continue emerging from the ground, like messages from another Earth that existed not so long ago.
And maybe that's what makes this so fascinating. These creatures don't feel ancient in the same way dinosaurs do. They feel close, almost recent, like echoes of a forgotten world hiding just behind modern civilization. Somewhere beneath cities, forests, and mountains lie the remains of giant sloths, armored beasts, saber-toothed predators, and birds that once ruled entire continents. A lost South America filled with creatures so strange that if they existed today, people would probably refuse to believe they were real.